Absolutely. I have been saying this for years. Since we came on the air in 2016, September 6th, I tried to tell Skip Bayless, Tom Brady's staunchest supporter, that Tom Brady is a lot like all these other guys. He loves attention. He craves attention. His ego is insatiable. They do a better job of hiding it. No, you're jealous because you couldn't play as long as he could, yada, yada, yada. Now what we've seen in the last 3 or 4 days since he's decided to come back, article after article being written talking about his insatiable appetite for attention, his insatiable ego. If I'm not mistaken, B.A. said it at the Combine. I've been saying that. I said, now, if he's not careful, he's going to turn into a Brett Favre situation. Because most guys, when Jordan said he was done, he was done. He sent a fax a year and a half later. He didn't drop breadcrumbs every time somebody tried to stick a microphone in his face. Well, you never know. I'm just enjoying my life right now. But who knows how long this is going to last. So it was just kept going, and people started to say, hold on, bruh. Either you in or you're out. And come to find out, he was back in. Why he stepped out, that's something we may never know.
Oh, I think I got a great idea.
Well, you think you have a great idea. Tom likes to play it off, guys. I just want to win games. All these shucks, gee whiz. But, Skip, he doesn't want people to realize how insatiable his ego and how insatiable his appetite for attention is. And so he plays it off as like, oh, the guy next door, oh, golly shucks, gee whiz. Guys, I'm just trying to win games. But I think Dan Shaughnessy, who has his pulse, who's been a Boston writer for umpteenth years, at least 30, Skip. Because I can remember when I was playing in the league, Dan Shaughnessy was writing for, I think it's for the Globe.
Yes, he is a contemporary of mine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you know him very well.
Very well.
And you have the utmost respect for Dan Shaughnessy.
I consider him the GOAT columnist of Boston, Massachusetts.
No question.
Slightly over Bob Ryan. We could argue that, but go ahead.
Yes. So I don't really know him. I don't know him like you know him, but having played in the game, having played in the Patriots and things like that, I've seen him in the locker room, so I'm well aware of
strongest voice in Boston. Go ahead.
So I'm well aware of who he is, Skip. But I do think people are tired of this situation. Basically, they like, okay, make a decision and stick with the decision. From the time Tom Brady made that decision, there was nothing concrete because he waffled at every turn. He said, well, when he was on his podcast, he said, this is the last time I'm going to talk to you guys before September. And lo and behold, another Tuesday rolled around, or another Monday, and he's talking again. Well, you never say never. So I'm with Dan Shaughnessy on this one. But I didn't second guess this. I first guessed this because I was a very good player. I've been around great players. And being around them and seeing how they operate, I felt I had a pretty good gauge of how Tom Brady actually was and how he operated. And I felt very comfortable saying what I said. Yes, I caught some criticism. Yes, people said I was jealous. Yes, people said I was envious. But in the end, I was right. I don't have a problem with it. But I just want people to see who Tom Brady, as great as he is, that desire, that ego and that insatiable appetite, the yearning, and he doesn't want to let that go. It's hard when you've been here and all of a sudden you go away and people just like, yeah, he was a great player, but they don't talk about you the same. So I agree with every word that Dan Shaughnessy wrote.
Okay. I will reiterate what I tried to say within your opening salvo, which is I have nothing but the highest respect and regard for Dan Shaughnessy.
Yes.
But I will say I'm sniffing the faint odor of sour grapes here, of maybe a little envy, one of the 7 deadly sins, because Boston doesn't have him anymore and Tampa does.
Skip, you can't, Skip, every time somebody criticizes someone, you can't write it off as sour grapes.
I'm just reading between the lines because I think they miss him in New England because they're stuck with, what does he call himself? MJ10 or whatever? Mac Jones? You're stuck with him now. You're stuck with him. And he's only going to be that good. And you're always going to be a little frustrated. I first guessed this from day one. He'll only be this good, and you'll keep saying, well, if he could only be Brady. Well, he can't be, and he never will be.
But who can?
And Belichick will never be Brady either. So you're going to be stuck with a team that is second fiddle vital to the Buffalo Bills for the foreseeable future? Because I don't think Josh Allen's going anywhere.
No,
right?
he's not.
Okay. So, big picture now. I will give you this. My wife, Ernestine, asked me last night, and she's just sort of an innocent bystander. She watches the show like a hawk. She's got it on. She's doing her work, but she's listening to what you're saying, mainly to what you're saying, not what I'm saying, because she's saying, wait a second, how could Shannon say that?
Yeah.
She's second.
You done practiced on her last night.
That is true, but she did stop me last night as we passed in the hallway, and she said, is it just me, or is Tom Brady starting to lose some credibility with this? And I said, no, not to me at all. And I said, how dare you ask me that question in my own household?
Good job, Ernestine.
Way to go, way to go. But she's just an innocent bystander, and it was just like a distant voice of reason coming, you know. So look, I'm going to give you this up front. He spent, Tom Brady, 20 years under the thumb of one Bill Belichick, and you have acknowledged this repeatedly on this show. And yes, he's like a little kid who suddenly was free to roam the internet and do whatever he wants without any parental guidance or controls, right?
Yes.
He can now flaunt his ego in ways he never could under Belichick because that was the Patriot way. Yes. And we're getting 20 years of spillover right now of egomania from Tom Brady. And he has become Mr. Media. It's not that he's a media manipulator like somebody else I know, LeBron James or Aaron Rodgers. They are master media manipulators. They use the media to their own devices. But in Brady's case, yeah, he's just flexing his own ego like, hey, look at me. Watch what I do. Watch me upstage the bracket racket on Sunday night. As soon as they drop the brackets on CBS, watch this. 10 minutes later, I'll drop my little bombshell and watch what will happen. I will own the news cycle for the next 24 to 48 hours. Am I right?
Yes.
Well, that's goatness to me. I mean, that's him just flexing right before your very eyes, and he got away with it. It worked, right? Was he not the story yesterday?
Of course. Everybody knew that would be the story.
And what did you tell me? It sort of rendered March Madness as secondary?
Right.
Like, and you weren't that into it anyway because they're no real dominant teams.
No,
they're no all-time greats. So you're like, I don't know. All right, back to Dan Shaughnessy. He's talking about Tom Brady being a carnival act on par with Deion Sanders, Brett Favre, and Dennis Rodman. He's talking about Tom finally having acquired a neediness gene, a la his longtime boss, Bob Kraft, who needs every once in a while to be in the news, so he has to flex his own ego, right? And then Dan goes into the backgrounds of the retirements of all the Pantheon greats in Boston, starting with the great Ted Williams. I know it's before your time, but Teddy Ballgame. And then we go to the great Mr. Russell, as in Bill Russell. And then we go to Larry Bird and Carl Yastrzemski. They all left quietly with dignity, according to Dan, which is all true. But weren't they all eventually just forced to leave? The way you said that the day Brady retired, it broke in the middle of this show, and you actually got tears in your eyes because you wanted, we're going to talk about this in more depth in a few minutes, but you actually wanted the league to force Brady to retire just on performance. You wanted the league, your sport that you played, the Hall of Fame you're in. You wanted the National Football League to finally expose Tom Brady as washed up, or as LeBron would say, washed, right? You wanted him to finally look so old, as Brady's always said, when I suck, I'll quit. And you wanted him to suck. But not to suck because of Father Time. You just wanted a ever younger league to finally say, you're just rendered too old to play this game, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it happened to all those Pantheon greats. And then he goes into other big retirements. I know he mentioned Muhammad Ali and obviously Willie Mays. The 73 World Series is hard to watch because he's just fumbling and stumbling in the outfield. I was there for Ali's last, and I'm going to put quotes around it, fight. I was there in the Bahamas. What year is that? 79? I should have looked this up before the show. I think it was 79, 80. Trevor Berbick in the Bahamas with cowbells between rounds, you know, the ringing cowbells, a makeshift ring out in this little minor league park. I don't even know what it was. It was
embarrassing.
How low can you go?
It was beneath Muhammad.
This is Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer ever in my estimation. And a towering figure of an athlete reduced to that against Trevor Berbick. And the last minute, Trevor Berbick wasn't even going to fight because he said, I'm not guaranteed enough money here. And it went to the 11th hour, and finally they did it. And poor Ali was just a shell of himself. Okay, well, is Brady headed for that? Maybe, but I don't see it in any near future. But we'll get deeper into that. Okay, so now Dan Shaughnessy is concluding here. Brady is still the GOAT, but he's also an old GOAT, the high school hero who's still living on the glory days while the rest of us have gotten on with our lives. Okay, now you've lost me because...
Well, I don't agree with that statement, Skip, because he's still playing at a high level. It's not like he's, Skip, sometimes quarterbacks and they stumble over their feet and they fumble the ball and things like that. Yeah. That's not what he's doing. He's still, what's annoying to me was the I'm done and the dropping of the breadcrumbs and the this and the that. That's what's annoying to me. I'm not denying that he can still play at an elite level because I just watched it 2.5 months ago.
You did.
So I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about it's become very Brett Favre. Skip, you remember the last couple of years? Every year he was going to retire. And then that's because he didn't want to go to training. He didn't want to go to do the OTAs, and he didn't want to do the mini camps. And he just showed up to training camp. And this year, probably my last year. And it seems to me Brady is headed down that path if he's not careful.
Okay. One final line from Mr. Shaughnessy, that now Tom Brady just wants Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless to argue about him on TV. Well, I can't speak for Stephen A., but I love to argue about Tom Brady because you love to hate on Tom Brady, and it drives me out of my mind because it's wrong. And we have argued from September 6th of 2016 on when you have said year after year, it's time to go home, it's time to go home. So he's driving you crazy. He's annoying the hell out of you because he won't stop being great. I've never seen anything like it. He is obviously shattered. He is obliterated. He has nuked the mold of how long you can play quarterback in the National Football League, because I thought he should have been the MVP last year at age 44. I don't doubt that he'll at least make a run at MVP next year at age 45. I don't doubt that he'll make a run at the Super Bowl next year at 45, because we've seen this weird pattern over the last 9 years of lose a playoff game, win the Super Bowl, lose, win the Super Bowl, lose a playoff game, win the Super Bowl. We've seen it 9 years in a row with this. This will be the 10th, which would be, if you go by that pattern, win the Super Bowl year, right? He's 45 years of age. It's impossibly great. I see no decline in arm talent. I see no decline in overall health. I see no decline in overall fervor for playing football, because he is still on fire. He is still obsessed with preparing for football games. I see no drop-off. I see no tedium, no boredom, no, oh, my God, I don't know if I can suck it up and do this anymore, which is what stopped you at age 35.
I think the thing is, Skip, when I talk to my friends that played this game, and a lot of them are Hall of Famers, they say, Shannon, what you're hoping for is not going to happen. He said, because the physicality has been basically taken out of the ball game. So basically, Tom is going to have to walk away on his own free will. He said because the NFL is not, they don't let you punish the quarterback now to force him to leave because he doesn't want to take those hits anymore.
And that is, I will give you this. The rules are rigged to protect them, because they should be, because those quarterbacks sell the product of professional football. The 1 year we lost Brady, what was it, 08? 08. The 1 year we lost him, man, the bottom fell out. For me, he was gone in the opening game, right? It was the opener at New England. He's gone for the year. It hurt the product that is the National Football.
I think the product was just fine. Skip. So under that notion, so when he retired, it should hurt the product. Joe Montana retired, and the product grew.
Okay, but the point is it better with Tom Brady?
Of course.
Sure it is.
Of course.
Will it be better next year? Am I not excited for all the shows next year? Is Fox not excited to put Tom Brady on our network in the game of the week?
Yes. But the thing is, Skip, is that what you know about this is that the league is strong enough that it can withstand losing 1, 2, 3. Even if they retire, if 3 of the 4 greats retire at once, the league is fine. You see, every year the ratings just keep going and going and going.
I get that. And I've never disagreed with your premise. The league's going to go on without anybody. Nobody is bigger than pro football. I'm just saying.
But the quarterbacks are the face. Quarterbacks are the face of the NFL.
And Tom Brady has such quarterback genius that he has perfected ways to get rid of the football before you can hit him. And you can't really hit him that hard anymore. That is correct. So it's double jeopardy for the defense.
Right.
He is extremely difficult to defend, even going on age 45.
But my question was, let me ask you this. Let's just say for the sake of argument, LeBron James had said, you know what, I'm going to retire. And in every turn you see, he's like, well, I don't know yet. I still feel I can play. Where LeBron has said on the shop, like, man, I'm still nice with this thing, so I'm going to squeeze all the juice I can out of this orange. But I'm just saying, you and I both know, had LeBron said that, I'm retiring and retired, but every chance he gets, you never know. Who knows? I don't know what tomorrow's holds. Nobody can predict the future. You'd be like, LeBron, can you stop it? Go away. Just leave it alone. Michael Jordan would have never done this.
Wrong. Okay. There is method. There was method to Tom Brady's March Madness. I told you from the start, he was burning out on playing for Bruce Arians because I think it's difficult to live with that guy because he takes public shots at his players and then says, hey, that's what I do to all my guys, right?
Yeah.
And I think his lack of attention to detail wears on Tom Brady because he is obviously obsessed with detail.
Right.
He has a rage to get it exactly right in practice, which was the only reason he and Belichick were able to coexist for 20 years. They had one shared vision is, let's get it exactly right.
No. Tom Brady didn't have that. Belichick instilled that in Tom Brady. It was Belichick that was situational.
Well, I'll give you some of that, but that's the way Brady is built. I think he was like that when he played peewee football.
Well, you think he was like that in Michigan? You think he was like, oh, coach, let's do that play again. The guy dropped the play.
You can't. He wasn't even allowed to win the job at Michigan.
I mean, he was allowed to win the job. The guy beat him out for the job. Skip, it's okay.
Really? I watched the Orange Bowl that year, and I saw him throw a party on Alabama in the Orange Bowl, and I said, that kid can play.
He did that.
I didn't see this, but I saw that.
Yes.
Okay?
He did that.
Okay, so it is now my privilege and my honor to get to watch him have another MVP caliber year at age 45. And yet the point I've been making to you was that he burned out on Bruce Arians. He saw the handwriting on the locker room wall that they were going to lose a lot of players, 24 free agents in total. Now it's starting to dwindle because they kept Ryan Jensen and then they kept Carlton Davis yesterday, which
they lost Kappa and Ali Marpet retired.
Okay. So it's 50-50 so far. But he knew they couldn't be quite as good this next year as they were on paper last year when they brought back everybody, right?
Right.
So he wanted out. I told you from day one, I can't wrap my mind around him retiring because it doesn't make sense to me because he's playing at an MVP level. I thought he deserved to win it last year. And to my mind, as far as I know, he's completely healthy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you get out from under a deal in which you owe them one more year contractually?
Yeah. And how do you do that?
Okay. The way you do it is you have to see what's out there. And I told you I had a high play source of the highest order tell me that in the few days after they lost to the Rams, that Sean Payton proposed to Brady, let's go as a package deal to the Dolphins and unite there and see what we can do to Belichick within the division.
Right.
And that Brady was all in on that until the bombshell dropped it was actually 8 days after the Rams lost, the Brian Flores lawsuit, which required them to go in a little different direction with Mike McDaniel at coach because they needed somebody, as he calls himself, who is multiracial instead of just Sean Payton, okay? All right, so that was number one option. Boom, gone. Number two, I told you from the start, his dream was to finish back home for the 49ers. And we're going to talk more in depth about this. But by all accounts, many people are speculating, there are lots of anonymous executive quotes about this, that clearly he made a run back at the Shanahans one more time as he did 2 years ago. Would you? Could you? You want to do this? Because it would require them all to go then to the Glazer family, run the Bucks, and say, hey, Brady would have to say, hey, I did you a solid. I came here when you were 7-9, and we together won a Super Bowl.
It wasn't a whole lot of teams lining up for Tom Brady, Skip. Let's not.
Well, who's going to go there and win a Super Bowl for the Succaneers?
He did that.
He did that.
They compensated him for that.
Okay, all right, but maybe they would do him a solid and say, you know what, just go on. Or maybe you could do it for a 5th-round draft pick, like Amari going to Cleveland, that sort of thing. Again, I'm just saying, would not all the PR be on his side there?
No.
Yes.
Skip.
All of it would.
So let me get this right. You think that I'm supposed to work, let's just say for the sake of I'm a top designer for Apple. All of a sudden I say, you know what? I kind of want to go to Microsoft. I want to go to Google. I did that. I developed the iPhone for you. I developed the iPad for you. Let your boy go on over here. What do you think they're going to say? No.
I don't know. This is a 45-year-old quarterback who
They
wants to
don't
go.
care. Skip.
Whoa, wait a minute. Did he grow up as a fan of Google or whatever you said? He was a 49er fan, a Joe Montana fan. It's beautiful. It's the way the fairy tale should end.
Skip, that's not how business works, though. You know that.
Listen, the Glazer family is the highest quality. They would say, I believe in my heart of hearts, they would have said, okay, just go on. We got what we needed here. We got a
What
Super
did
Bowl.
BA say at the combine?
I don't care what he said.
BA said that's bad business.
Okay, he does not run the Buccaneers.
Bad
The
business.
Glazer family does. And I think he's lucky to have a job, and he was lucky to ride Brady's coattails to a Super Bowl championship.
Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, everything that you said is true. He's burned out on BA. If he's burned out on BA, why the hell would he go back?
Okay.
Why would he go back into this abusive relationship?
Okay, because did they lose their coordinator? No, they did not, right? Byron Leftwich is still there. They lose their quarterback coach? No, he's still there. They lose their defensive coordinator?
Well, they ain't got to ever worry about losing the quarterback coach. He's going to be there.
Okay, I hope you're wrong about that, but...
No, I'm talking about the coordinator, Byron Leftwich. He had an opportunity, but they wanted to strap him with Trent Baalke. He said, no, I want to bring my own guy.
I got it. But he is still there, so at least you got that going, right?
But BA is still there.
Okay, but you can work around him like you did last year.
Okay.
So my point is, at the last second, this was the only option left on the table. So he had to go back to Tampa and say, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to take the challenge. I'm going to show the Shanahans how wrong they were. And he is now re-stoked. He is on fire to show the league, okay, I'll show you. I'm going to show the Shanahans just how much I have left here. So it took 40 days because it took to the doorstep of the free agent period, which obviously started yesterday, for him to have to recommit to Tampa. But you had to do it on Sunday because free agency starts on Monday.
But here's the thing I'm trying to... Why does he need to go to all these ready-made teams? If you're to go to one of these teams that doesn't have a stock roster.
He's 45 years old.
That ain't got no, but he to go. So in other words, you're telling me he needs more help.
No, he just wants to go to a decent team. They were so good that they were 7-9 the year before. Don't give me that.
No, I'm not.
Don't give me that. 7-9.
7-9 with it.
They were losers.
Hold on.
Losers.
Jameis Winston turned the ball over 35 times.
They're losers.
You and I both know if he had cut that in half, they make the playoffs.
Bruce Arians established a culture of losing in Tampa that Brady turned around.
He went to a loaded roster. Hold on. Pro Football Focus for the last 2 years said this is the most talented roster in football.
I don't know if it went that far. I don't remember that.
So what is Mike Evans and Chris Godwin?
Guys, I got to interrupt and insist you leave it there.
Pretty good.
Awesome stuff to get us started this morning.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.